Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are back with a brand new line of Jurassic World figures from Mattel. As you can see, we have the Dino Reveal line. Now, I just found these at my local Target, and there are 3 different figures out in the first wave of these. I did acquire all 3, which you can see right now before us, and you might be asking, well, how can you tell? Well, there is actually a way you can tell. Here on the underside, you can see the letter A. That tells you that that is separate from this one. This is C. And again, with there being 3, which you can see right here, we've got an Avaceratops, a Dracorex, and a Velociraptor here in this line. So that tells you again that you've got 3 different species, and they basically have like almost sort of like a color changing effect, but not really, because as you can see, it says reveal the dinosaur with water. So basically, once you put it in water, it's then going to change. I don't know if it changes from the skeleton to the normal look or from the normal look to the skeleton. I'm not sure. But overall, it's pretty different from anything we've had previously from Mattel. Like, you can see the packaging is really quite strange as far as the way that this one is created. And of course, it's obviously created this way so that it's sort of hidden and you don't know what one you're getting. But again, the codes on the underside tell us. But definitely excited to check these out. Very cool new line again from Mattel. So I'm going to go ahead, pop these open, and we'll check out each one from there. So we begin with A. That's the one we're going to check out first. You obviously pull that open, and then inside would be our dinosaur. We've also got some instructions, and with the instructions we have the Dino Reveal logo and stuff right here, and then inside it tells us we need to open the dinosaur and basically what we need to do to switch it over. So this is definitely the Avaceratops, I can tell you that much just by feeling it. We have a very cool Jurassic World kind of packaging for this one. But there is our Avaceratops, and it looks super cool, actually. Definitely really neat looking when it comes to this sort of skeleton-like look that we have going on. So we'll put that one over there, and we'll clean this stuff up. And then we'll figure out which one is in B. For B, it is the Velociraptor. So that tells us now who you have in B, and this of course should help you when you go to the store decide which one you want to get, because again, you have the ability to know what species is in the container prior to actually purchasing it. When that one means, of course, if that one was the Velociraptor, that means that for C, it is going to be the Dracorex, or that should be fairly obvious anyway. So let's pull this one open. And there you go, sure enough, it is the Dracorex. So when it comes to each of the different dinosaurs, one thing I have heard that is unfortunate, Plush Boy Q, my buddy, told me, since I haven't actually, taken a closer look at these or anything quite yet, is the fact that once you actually put them in water, this look will go away and you can't get it back. So basically it's a one-time change for the overall appearance of the dinosaur. Once it's in the water, it's going to stay whatever color the dinosaur is, and you don't have the ability to kind of go back to this skeleton sort of look, which is sad. And honestly, that means that I'm probably going to buy another round of these just so I can keep the original look of them as well, because although they're not really that great, they almost look like they're wearing almost like the outfit or like the pajamas kind of that they were wearing in the Karate Kid. It almost looks like they're wearing something like that. But sculpt wise, these are absolutely the same figures we've had previously. We just basically have for these versions a skeleton sort of a look, so you can see the head is obviously a nice kind of off-white coloration. You've got a little brown kind of striping through there. You can see brown for the nostrils and then brown around the eye area. There isn't any coloration or anything for the eyes currently. And then you have a dark brown tone that leads through the body. We have the rib cage kind of painted out here, some leg bones and stuff moving through, and that's really about it. Other than that, it's basically just a brown coloration the entire way through. So nothing overly amazing at this point, but that one fell over. But they're still kind of neat. But here for the Velociraptor, it's almost the same thing. You can see again that sort of off-white tone with some of the brown leading through. The nostrils again highlighted with a brown. And then we've got the leg bones and the rib cage. And again, that's about it outside of that dark brown tone. All of them are the exact same colors initially, And as you can see, once we move over to our Avaceratops, again, same deal. We've got the light tone, kind of like almost like a mixture of a light, sort of off-white, bordering on a yellow. And then you've got the browns popping up this time, though, rather than the nostrils having a separate brown for them, highlighting them. The second area of brown is actually just that area that kind of overtakes the nostrils. And then you've got the darker brown moving down here, and then you lead back, you've got the rib cage, and then again the leg bones. They probably should have just included bones the entire way through. I think it would have looked really, really neat. This one almost, I think, is giving us kind of a sneak peek of what the coloration of the dinosaur is. You can kind of see it right there, actually right there as well, where you move the tail. You can kind of see the coloration, the actual original color of the figure as well. So almost kind of like spoiling it for us, but overall it's pretty cool. This one specifically, it's cool to have this species back again. I'm really happy to see it returning in a, different Jurassic World line, because it is a really nice looking sculpt. So definitely hyped about these guys. I think it's really neat to finally have something a little bit different from Mattel, especially something fairly unique overall. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to grab some water, we'll come back, we'll go ahead and change them and see what they look like. So as you can see, I wasn't really thinking too clearly when I first, filled them up. I put them a little bit too full. I started to kind of overflow everywhere. So my mistake can be something that you can learn from and maybe don't do what I did. But obviously I have them filled up here. They're just sitting in the water, and at this point they're basically just meant to change, and we can obviously see all of that brown color coming off of them and just basically soaking up in there. Now it does state on the instructions that you're supposed to continue to turn them. I was just basically leaving them sit in there for a few minutes just to see how they are, but I did turn them as well just to kind of give them another little boost and try to get the color off. But I think this is pretty interesting, and the fact that you almost have like some sort of a chamber here you can keep your dinosaurs in, like you can fill it with water afterwards and even just keep them in there. I don't know what it would do to them on the long term, but it would be a pretty neat way to store them, almost giving you actually kind of like a Jurassic World Rebirth sort of a feel, or a JP3 feel, where you head into the lab and see dinosaurs in chambers and stuff like that. But let's go ahead now, kind of fast forward and get to the point where they were actually finally completely clean. So here we go with the final uncovered versions of the paint apps that we have for the Raptor. First of all, we can see this one is basically just a greenish color. There's not really a whole lot going on with this one, and in this instance somehow even less color than we normally get for a Mattel figure, which is pretty impressive. But overall, we basically just have a dark greenish tone for the Raptor, and then we've got some dark grayish tones that kind of lead down and stripe down the neck a little bit and then overtake the back just briefly before disappearing. Again, there's no coloration. Leading out into the tail, no painted nails. We do have a light tone for the lower jaw, but that's about it when it comes to color up here in the head, outside of the eye paint, which is a yellow and a nice big kind of dark gray. So not really a slit-like pupil, but an interesting sort of a pupil. And then we do have some paintwork on the inside of the mouth. We've got the teeth painted with kind of like a light yellowish tone. There's a little bit of sloppiness here on mine running up onto the upper jaw, and then you can see a pink for the tongue with a nice satin shine in there, and that's about it when it comes to the Raptor. Articulation wise, these figures are pretty bare bones. We can see that there is obviously jaw articulation, but there's actually no neck articulation, which is definitely sad for the figure. But we do have arm articulation forward and back, as well as leg articulation forward and back, and then a swivel tail, all pretty much the standard stuff from Mattel. This is a sculpt we've gone over many times over, so there's no need to really go over it again, but I will say the detail looks pretty darn good on the figure. We also have the Avaceratops, which again I believe is the same sculpt we've had previously, so no real differences there. It looks like I've got some stuff on this one when I was trying to dry it off. But for the Avaceratops, you basically have a yellowish brown sort of tone for the primary body color. You do have a darker brownish gray sort of tone for the beak, and then you have a light tone for the horns up there. You do also have a darker greenish tone, focus camera, there we go, a darker greenish tone that kind of patterns and designs all around the eye and then up into the frill, which actually looks pretty cool, and we can very clearly see the detail on this one is super crisp, super impressive. If you've been wanting to grab another of these to repaint, this one's not a bad choice because the detail is really shining on it. But you also have more of that green patterning moving along the back of the dinosaur, but in typical Mattel fashion, you can see it disappears in basically the hip area, and then we have nothing else leading out into the tail, no alternate coloration on the underside, no painted nails, nothing like that for the figure overall. It does have some neck articulation, which is good because the Raptor was lacking, but as you can see, it seems to only really be swivel articulation, so you can get kind of like a head tilt on it, but there's not really a whole lot, maybe slightly kind of up and down, but not much. There's no left and right, just basically the ability to kind of swivel it, and then leg articulation forward and back, pretty much the standard. And yes, there is a swivel tail. So that's about it when it comes to the Avaceratops. And then, of course, our Dracorex is still pretty wet, apparently. Oh, well, I think he's just going to have to be wet for the, moment that we have here to take a closer look at it. We'll look at the other side. Maybe that's not so wet. There we go. Kind of wet, but that is one problem when you actually, soak these guys. The water kind of creeps in and out of all of the articulated joints and just kind of sits in there. So it's probably going to take some time before it really all comes out. But you can see this one is like a very dark brownish tone, maybe even a little bit darker than like a chocolate bar brown. And we do have like a grayish tone, focus camera again, a grayish tone, a little bit of a lighter grayish tone there in the eye area, and then kind of leading along the jaw line and then back here a little bit behind the head. Some of the spikes are painted out with a light brownish tone, which we can see definitely looks pretty cool as far as that goes. The eye is painted with a green, given a black pupil, or a very dark gray pupil, but the eye is a little bit sloppy when it comes to the paintwork on that side. A little bit better on the other side. No coloration for the beak or anything like that. And then as you move back into the body, you can basically see a kind of more vibrant orangish tone moving along the back. But again, just briefly, before we lead into the rest of the dinosaur, there's water dripping everywhere, again, from like the joints of the legs. And that's about it. Again, no color for the nails, no other alternate coloration for the underside, nothing else going on with this one. We do as well have the ability to kind of swivel the head and neck for the figure. No, I didn't think there was any up and down motion, as you can see, just basically swivel. And again, forward and back with the arms, forward and back with the legs, and then again a swivel tail. So pretty interesting. It is neat to have these alternate color variants out, and I can definitely see these being pretty fun when it comes to people collecting them, because it is a little bit different and kids would definitely enjoy them. And I'm looking forward to more of these coming out for sure, even though they're obviously not the greatest thing in the world. They're definitely not Mattel's best work overall, but they're fairly fun. I don't think we need to do comparisons, sizes, anything like that for these figures. There are no Jurassic facts codes for them or anything that we need to look at, which is sad if you are into collecting the dinosaurs in the Facts app, because buying these aren't going to get you any new ones. But overall, they're still pretty fun. Definitely neat to have a new, very different line of figures out from Mattel. They're obviously not going to be for everyone, because they are fairly lackluster when it comes to the paint apps on the final products. Once you kind of transition them away from the skeleton look to the actual final look, they're just not really that great looking, but it is still fun to have, some slightly different color variants, and specifically it's really fun to have a different version of the Avaceratops out. But they are pretty cool if you want to grab some for repaints. However, they are retail for $9.99, which means they're a little bit more expensive than they would be if you were to just buy them in like the Danger Packs or Attack Pack style, so that is something to keep in mind as well. But you also don't have the facts codes now on the top, where they have that kind of like obnoxious area you have to pull out, whereas these ones look a little bit better as far as that goes without having that, because again, I do like the codes better when they were on the undersides of the feet. But overall, it's a pretty fun line, pretty interesting line, but absolutely not something that everybody is going to go crazy over. If you are interested, though, you can pick them up at Target. I acquired them on kind of like a little end rack, which you can see what it looks like right here. So just so you know where to look, you're not going to find them in the standard Jurassic section, or at least that's not where they were at my Target. But one way or another, again, if you want them, go grab them, and of course, like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.